Hello again, amigos, amigas. Now we are going to continue with this visit on Nazca, hitting its highlights, its attractions on this sunny, super sunny day, as you can see. And well, these pretty bougainvilleas behind me also frame this house that keeps also memories of the most important defender of the Nazca Lines. She was not even Peruvian, born Peruvian, but she was Peruvian at heart. Her name was María Reiche, and well, let's talk a bit about her. So let's go to the other side. Let's flip the camera, and I would like to share with you a bit of, well, who was she? María Reiche was born German, but she lived most of her life here in Peru. And here you can see her name, María Reiche, and she was actually a Nazqueña by decision. Nazca is this very warm, very hot part of the country, hot town that nowadays is famous thanks to, in part, her dedication, her years of dedication to understand the Nazca Lines. There wouldn't be really Nazca Lines like internationally known as nowadays they are known without María Reiche. So here we can see a chronology about the Nazca culture, starting from the Paracas, actually, which are the society that gives origin to the Nazca. Paracas culture dates back to more or less 3,000 years ago, 1,000 years before Christ, before Common Era. And we can see, well, then later the evolution of the Paracas, which is the Nazca in its different periods of development. So Nazca society, creators of the Nazca Lines, also were a very interesting culture, which was for a long time unknown until investigations that started in the mid 20th century. First, let's say a very important Peruvian archaeologist, Julio César Tello, started to investigate the Paracas bundles, and then it was realized also that there was another important society, the Nazca society, that was continued after that. So there you can see María Reiche, and as I said before, she came to Peru when she was very young as a tutor of children from a very important German family that's before the Second World War. And well, she came as a mathematics teacher, and then later she decided to stay for the rest of her life here. She lived initially in Cusco. She fell in love completely of Cusco. She discovered about the Incas, the Incan architecture. And well, when this family had to return to Germany, that is in the context of the Second World War, she decided not to return. She felt there was nothing for her back home, and she decided to stay here. And after moving to Lima, she finally learned about the Nazca Lines thanks to an American archaeologist, I think he was, Paul Cossack. And well, he invited her as a mathematician to help him measure these gigantic lines that were already seen before, actually in ancient times. I'll go back to that also, because the first rediscovery of the lines happened during the conquest period. So this is the south coast of Peru, the Nazca's territory, and the desert had also more water in the old days. It was more, let's say, green, not extremely green, but there was more water during the time of the Nazcas. So the Nazcas, in a way, also saw the process of aridification of their territory. And you can see also that Rio Grande is the river that cuts also this desert, and here is where most of the lines are located. But there are lines in other parts of the country. Okay, lines in the south, in the north of Nazca, in the east of Nazca. Well, also geoglyphs were a way also of communication in the old days. And we can see also here some of the pictures of this area. This is the entrance to the museum, María Reiche, for example. And well, this is this was really an initiation or initiative, sorry, related with or in the context of the let's say the protection of the Nazca Lines by UNESCO, the degree of protection. Okay, so now we're going to the next room. There are many also Peruvian visitors today. Sorry. Gracias. Thank you. And here we can see, sorry. So now we can see these ceramics. These are ceramics of the Nazca culture. And they are very colorful. They tend to be also colorful and have lots of designs in them. So they sort of like develop a fear for the empty spaces. They didn't like the empty spaces. Notice here also the way how they buried, the Nazca people buried their loved ones in fetal embryonic position in tombs that were quite deep, and also they deposit next to their dead these ceramics that most of them, for example, are here. So they were obtained from archaeological funerary contexts. So this is how they, in a way, also they nourished their dead with food that was deposited on those ceramics. And we can see also here some pictures of María Reiche. She was fully committed to keeping the lines, to rescue them, to avoid their extermination and destruction. And she didn't have really much money. After Paul Kosok finished his investigations, and he proposed that the lines were a big calendar, which nowadays, well, most people don't really believe they were part of a calendar, but they believe those lines were part of a ceremonial, let's say, like site, very huge in fact. So, well, once Paul Kosok left this country, the lines were left abandoned. So she was in such like worry of them being destroyed that she decided to stay here. And later, actually, her sister came to help her, and they both died here in Nazca. They were so much loved at the last decades of their lives here. But in the beginning, they were seen as crazy, especially María Reiche, who was alone, like going to the desert. Imagine being a little child, seeing a lady that doesn't look like your people and also like doesn't speak fluently your language, and she just goes into the desert with a broom like she did, and she was no witch, of course. She was going to the desert with her broom to try to avoid to lead, really, like there were people who were leading, putting trash in those lines. So she was trying to pick up the trash and clean some of these spaces, and then cataloging also the lines. So she had a life of sacrifice, full commitment to the lines. She was sort of like married to the lines, and well, she finally died with the recognition she deserved. And last but not least, I will not get too deep into this museum because there's no internet, and I'm streaming live, so thanks so much if you're watching this live stream. Remember to follow my Facebook and also YouTube channels for like this type of surprise updates. So there you can see the lines. There are over 800 lines cataloged at this moment. And every year there are new lines added to the catalog. But probably the most famous are the ones that are already visited during the overflight. That is, it's an overflight that is standardized here in Nazca. The planes, the aircrafts takes you to see the famous lines of the spider, for example. There you see, for example, some of them. Or you can see the spider, you can see the hummingbird. The alcatraz is this one here, I think. Oh, no, this one is the alcatraz. That one is the sorry, I forgot the name of this one. Colibri, hummingbird. I don't know why I'm forgetting my English. The monkey over there, the dog, the fish. there are so many beautiful lines everywhere, everywhere. Actually, that is the hummingbird. Yes, that's the hummingbird. Sorry for the confusion. So the parrot over there, right? And there are so many beautiful ones. The lizard, actually, the lizard, we saw it this morning. And well, so the lines, they are here to prevail, to last forever. We hope really that the future generations, and I'm very happy to see so many Peruvians also interested, young people, middle age, more like, adult people, older adults who are willing to learn about the lines, willing to stop on their journeys here in these museums like in Nazca, and they will become also the messengers and the advocates for the protection of these lines. So well, with no more to share, thank you so much for being with me on this little live stream. I hope you enjoy it, and the grand finale will be also, well, visiting the room, the bedroom of María Reiche. And María Reiche was not a rich woman. She actually lived in a modest way. This is her room also, where she lived, where she studied the lines, where she cataloged them in papers that she made with her own hands. Remember, she was a mathematician, so she had an impeccable order, really, in her documents. And she lived really a modest life. This is her room, her actual real room. And well, look at even her sandals over there, which have been also pictured, photographed in many documents, photographs that we have in books, in so many books here in Peru. She is a true hero, and she was indeed a Peruvian, like from heart, even though she never abandoned also her love for Germany. But Germany was a distant land, because, well, she lived most of her life here in this country, and we have so many figures like her. Nowadays, for example, Pope Leo XIV, he's also Peruvian. He has Peruvian ID, and he lived also a big part of his life here in Peru. So, well, thank you very much for watching, and, well, María Reiche, she's one of my heroines, one of our Peruvian heroes. So how many would sacrifice comfort for, like a land that is not yours, and to protect patrimony like this? How many? And last but not least, here her band. This is the band she used also to go to the desert. There are many photos of her, like using this band to be in the desert. She used the band as tent also. She extended a tent on top, like just to be able to survive the climate of the desert. Okay, my dear friends, so thank you so much for being with me for these few minutes. Let's put the camera over here. And please come to Peru, visit this incredible land, fall in love of Peru's highlights, and not just Peru's, South America's highlights and off the beaten path are incredible. So, well, this channel is to discover new places, is to discover fascinating stories. So thank you so much for being with me, and we'll see you in the next stop. Take care. Ciao, amigos. Bye-bye.